Mr. Curbelo, you recognized.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for this hearing, and I thank the witnesses. I'm also grateful that my colleagues have expressed broad bipartisan support for a comprehensive, permanent, and revenue-neutral tax reform. We have the opportunity to reform and streamline existing programs in the tax code, like education incentives that will give families more flexibility in saving for their children, promoting greater access to cleaner, more efficient energy technologies, and seeking solutions for the people of Puerto Rico who face a demoralizing economic outlook. But for me, Mr. Chairman, tax reform is about expanding freedom and opportunity for the American families of today and those of the future. I think about my immigrant parents and how they were able to come to this country and earn success. When they first arrived, it was tough. My mom helped her mother run a small fabrics business. On some days, my dad sought food and couldn't find any. Yet, thanks to the possibilities afforded to them by the American economy, they were able to earn more, put away some money, buy an apartment, and start a family. The social safety net back then was not as expansive as it is today, but opportunity was boundless. My wife and I think about our own two daughters. I want to make sure they grow up in a country where they can find their own success and blossom. The decisions we make in this committee in the coming months will make that either more or less possible. I think of all those young people who went to college and can't find quality jobs, and small businesses back in South Florida, the mom and pop bakeries and small restaurants where I often stop by in the mornings to grab my shot of Cuban coffee. Will our country offer them the opportunity to grow and invest? Or will we just sit back and watch opportunity in our country diminish? There's good news in the blueprint for every Florida family. My state could see as many as 97,220 new jobs and an estimated gain in after-tax income of $4,248 per household, according to the Tax Foundation. Counties like Miami-Dade and Monroe, which I'm privileged to represent, I think especially stand to benefit given the entrepreneurial culture there. To our witnesses today, I have one question, very unique to my area. Miami, South Florida is often called the gateway of the Americas. There's so many opportunities, so many ways to access different markets from Miami. However, we also face competition from all those countries in Central, South America, Europe, and really all over the world, because Miami is becoming a meeting point for people and goods from all over the world. Mr. Farr, given your perspective, for those entrepreneurs in Miami who are creating jobs, who are innovating, who are opening new markets for American products, what is the difference for them between permanent, comprehensive reform and short-term tax cuts?
Thank you. First of all, we use Miami as our gateway into Latin America, so that's where our headquarters is. I mean, the big impact for people starting up is with having the tax rate will allow them to make those long-term investments. I mean, when you start a company up, you're putting money in the line, it's going to be there for a long time, and you want to know what that tax structure is going to be. And I think that's very critical for these young people starting up these companies, having impermanence, having the knowledge what that tax rate is going to be, what the rules are, and make them simple. For small companies, they have to be simple. I have hundreds of tax lawyers and tax accountants to deal with this. But in small companies, you got to make them real simple, keep the rates low, and they'll invest and grow, and that's how it works.
Thank you, Mr. Farr. Mr. Stevens, I want to offer you the opportunity to send a message to the American worker. We all know how frustrated the American worker is. A lot of people in this country just don't feel like success is attainable for them. A lot of these young people go to college, get a degree. They were promised that they would be able to find a good job, and they can't find one today. And a lot of these people have watched over the last 7-8 years this economic recovery where the wealthy have done quite well. The statistics show that, yet lower and middle income Americans have struggled. Some of these people might be watching this hearing today, maybe one or two of them, hopefully more. What do you have to say to them? Why is this important to them? How can comprehensive, bold, permanent tax reform improve quality of life for middle and lower income Americans?
So for all businessmen, the question of investments comes down to what returns they can make. And when the government takes 40% between the Fed and state, and another location takes 20% or less, it makes it very difficult to make the decision to invest here. If we balance that out, if we make that competitive, those investments will come here. This will be the biggest jobs bill that this committee could support, because with those dollars of investments comes the opportunities to do research, do innovation, do construction.
So tax reform equals more and better jobs.
It's a jobs bill first and
Let's leave it
foremost.
at that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.